is they kind of sacrifice actually most of their summer to come over to the UK and do short projects with us. And they did the first initial development of the CAN open interface connecting with the dev board, as well as the decoders and encoders to then transmit and receive uplink commands and then BPSK signals on the output. So that's kind of 2014 doing development. And in 2015, we had two Bens, Kluwer and Chapman, third-year undergraduates who were then working on the PCB, the first iteration of that, and as well some of the software involved in that as well. So it's again sort of moving things along. You can see the first sort of unit here. I think this is our 3D printed model that we spray painted silver to make look. We might have done to make look good for obviously opportunistic photographic purposes. But we fast forward to today, and we're joined very happily with Pete and Andre. So guys, stand up, turn around, come on. These guys have worked really, really hard under all the pressures that Graham and I have been able to put on them as we can to help us get to the point where it's in now, where we've actually got an engineering model of a decent status with the right flight software on it in a good flight software configuration, and have been able to do the testing on it. So this is a sort of zoom big picture so that you can kind of see it of the unit, but by all means, if you want to come closer, please do, for those of you that are at the back. And this is Pete a few days ago, really, just putting the last soldering pieces in our lab. And what we've been doing is, just like we've been doing before, is we've been having kind of the team over to figure out what's sort of going on our board. And Howard brought down, I think, every oscilloscope that he owns. So there's got to be at least half a dozen there.
No, it's more.
It's more. Well, we had a big array, okay, of systems, much like that looks like this, checking out all of the things. This is a particularly interesting sort of short video. I'll just kind of replay it again so you can see the scopes we're looking at on the CAN I2C bus, the RF pieces, and more importantly, the new dashboard which says ESA ESEO, which you'll all hopefully become very familiar with at some point in the future when it launches. And this is the one that kind of Graham was talking about as it sounding angry. So if there could be some sound on this particular one, that would be marvellous.
That's a smoke alarm, isn't it?
And I think the way it was described was, obviously we've had, it's an angry fun cube. Someone tweeted me about it just saying this was simply outrageous. How we could be changing such obviously a wonderful format like this. But nonetheless, we did have those requirements from what was Alma Space, now Cytel, whichever way it's around it should be presented. And we've had some really great sort of times where we've been putting together all of these things on our sort of regular sort of workshop pieces. And so in sort of one weekend, we were able to obviously progress things very, very quickly. When you've got all the right people in the room to be able to work on these things together, we can really sort of push things forward. So as we talked about before, the packet format is slightly changing. We're going from our sort of typical 5 seconds of FunCube packet formats, which has real-time telemetry and whole orbit data in it. And of course, as soon as we push that to 4K8, everything speeds up. And we can then burst through these things 4 times quicker. Now, if we don't have any data to send down, and we are going to be in 4K8 mode, we will be going through these streams just a heck of a lot quicker. Now, however, if they want us to transfer science payload data, then we fill up these empty slots here, we put headers on them, and we just treat it as almost like a router, just to route the data back down and through the dashboard system. And we've had a lot of help more recently, especially from Howard, who's not here, but enjoying himself somewhere on a Portuguese beach, I understand, to build up then the support equipment that's needed to then test this. So it's all very well and good that we can build the engineering model, but you do need to have sort of the ground segment pieces as well on the dashboards to make sure everything kind of comes together. The other piece that's attached to that is then the uplink interface as well. So one of the things that I've been working on is sort of how we would push ourselves into different modes, and more importantly, at the request of many people, is how we would then have that working on Windows, which is, I can think, one of the key requirements that I've had in this project, to make sure that we can kind of do these things. And it's kind of at this point, really, where I kind of wanted to just say, well, this is kind of the journey that we've been on. I know it's sort of the end of the day, but we wanted to give you a demo of it.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, let's switch it on. That's it, very good. This is obviously excellent ESD protection system. Switch. Just down here.
Oh, the switch that says on.
Yep, that'll be the one.
Oh, yeah.
And what we've got is we've got a brand new dashboard that's here. And now this is the time, I think, probably where I'm meant to perhaps put this across and see if we can put it up on there.
Yeah, good.
Let's see if how quickly technology will fail us today.
No, it's this side. See, that's
Oh, well, that's...
why I was worried earlier.
oh, right, okay. Let's just see how far we can go then. As if by magic, technology has not failed us quite in as brutal way as it has done in the last...
Except the display's rubbish. Oh, that's a bit better.
Well, that's what we can do.
Yeah.
Obviously, the enclosure temperatures aren't necessarily at over 1,000 degrees C. We've obviously got some raw decoding that we need to do, and perhaps there's some endianness issues that we need to file out. But the dashboard itself is transmitting a 1K2 signal. Let me just see if I can... I'll turn on the audio just so you can hear what it sounds like.
Hang on, got it.
Well, so this is Duncan's doing, and I'm fully blaming him for that sound. However, what we can do is we can use this sort of handy here to then push us into different modes of operation. I'll pull that out as well because what we've been developing.
So this is the command station, a handy Alinco handheld that happens to cover 23 centimetres. And this is the push-to-talk switch. So to command ESEO, it's going to be a two-person job. I have to operate this switch, which puts this radio into transmit, and Chris has to transmit some
tones. But essentially, this is what it will sound like. So we've been just building up the sort of software-defined audio needed just to frame it all up. As you can see here, it's a AFSCI, NRZI, preamble, CCS sync, and then whatever data we kind of want to use at the end of it. And as soon as I plug that in there, we should be able to then push it. We're TXing.
Yes, transmitting.
And we can then push it, if we wanted to, into 4K8 mode.
Right.
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
First go.
You can
How about
tell.
that?
You can tell it's 4K8. It's wider.
And if we were to listen to the sound of it, we can already hear this beast is now operating much, much quicker. And more importantly, the dashboard should be updating much, much, much quicker. That's just, if I look at our real-time telemetry, it should be coming in quicker.
I'm not sure it is.
Well, it's because I've got no antenna on the end of this.
Probably.
So,
Okay, can we now do a command into transponder mode, perhaps?
yeah, why not? Let's put it into transponder mode.
Those of you clutching 23 SEM handies on 1, 2,
Let's push it back into 1K2, just quickly. There you go, back into 1K2, autonomous mode.
1263.5.
Yeah.
Okay, and we want it in B or A? A.
Is somebody listening on the downlink?
Yes, hold on a second. Where's my bag? That's all right, don't worry about that. yeah, understood.
Thank you for that helpful advice, sir. I'm just going to get a radio.
Let's see if, again, this will work.
Yes, it's deeply embedded, the ident. What's the downlink frequency?
930 it should be, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm listening.
Let me just... Okay.
Somebody key it up.
India.
So, Give us a longer call, please, somebody.
Hang on. Knock myself off frequency.
Fly Golf 7 India, India, India 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
And that's the squelch tail you're hearing of the transponder, and currently it's set for
There we go.
carrier access or CT CSS tone access. So it stays up for a second or so and then drops the transmit carrier. So this is the power safe mode.
Give that a go.
Golf 4 Delta Papa Zulu G4DPZ testing. 1 2 3 4.
Would you like to have a QSO, chaps? The idea is the demo should have a QSO. So let's
There's the
have
audio.
a contact. Keep Carlos happy. No,
There you go, Phil. Sound should come out.
go on. Go on.
Anyone?
G4DP.
Did you read G72 flight, please? G4DPZ 5 and 9, thank you.
You are also
5 and 9, no real surprise.
You got a QSL via the Bureau or anything?
certainly I'm not going to press over the brute.
So that's obviously one of the first demonstrations. We actually just did it briefly earlier, but the first ever QSO is done on our engineering model in its pretty much complete state, and then we can then push it back. He says back into a 4K8 or a 1K2 mode, so you'll be able to hear that go back.
So this is live radio demonstrated. Lots of software involved.
One K2.
Look at the little switch on drift. Tut tut.
Hold on, let me just put it onto a single sideband.
Okay, it's coming out of everywhere. So I think that's our demo. That's our demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Any questions?
Oh, I'm acting as an antenna. There we go.
Will you
There you go.
enjoy
How about
listening
that?
to it? There you go. That's better.
Do you want to push it into 4K8, and then you can just see exactly how wide it gets.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry? Should be. Yeah. I have to say that the guys that have worked on this with this demo, it's running a full real-time operating system that Pete's been putting in as part of his MSc project, and he's done some fantastic work. And like I say, the students that have worked on this, as well as David, Graham, even Wouter and Duncan, Howard, all of the people that have helped out wouldn't be possible without obviously those dedications to those guys.
So hopefully real soon we'll get the go-ahead to produce the flight model, and hopefully equally soon ESA will actually commit to a launch. So I won't try and predict when you might hear this spacecraft or the flight model version of this payload in space, but it could be next year. It might be 2018, or let's hope so anyway. So if you, we look forward to having an L-band uplink, so we can spin around there, up there with Fox 1, B and C, C and D, C and D, C and D. So thanks very much indeed. Thanks for staying on, particularly to watch this live demo. As Chris has said, these guys have worked their backsides off and other bits off, particularly over the last couple of weeks, to make sure it was ready for this event. Note that the demo was actually timed for the very last session of the colloquium to give them the maximum time possible. So guys, thank you very, very much indeed. We really appreciate your effort.
Questions? Or not questions?
Any questions?
What do we expect
Yep.
to need power-wise on the uplink?
Say again?
What do we expect to need power-wise on the uplink?
Power-wise on the uplink, link budget, I'm looking at David. Okay, David, what's the link budget? What power uplink will you need for?
Okay, it's the patch is circular polarisation, so you should be able to get away with linear on the uplink. It's not particularly sensitive because of all those filters to keep the other stuff out. I would say you're looking at probably 6 to 7 watts and a short helix or short RV antenna.
Okay, just to repeat what David said for the web stream, 6 or 7 watts to a short helix or a linear antenna, because the patch on board the spacecraft is circular polarized. It's right-hand circular, so if you're doing a helix, please make sure you've got the right sense of your antenna. So nothing too tremendous. So there it is, still working, but if there are no further questions, we'll call this session bring the session to a close and hand over to our chairman to close the colloquium, I think. Am I right with that sequence? Yeah. Good.
Good idea.
Good. Yeah, done it.